Hey everyone, it's Rye bringing you an update to my tier list. I think we'll do this every year, maybe like once a year. That probably seems like a good idea. And it's been about a year since the last one, so I think now's a good time. We also just got a new map, and I'm gonna try to, as I'm doing this, I'll try to point out why things have changed and what's different between this tier list and last tier list and why certain things have moved. Some of it, I'm just gonna be honest, is just because of my preference. But I think there's a something you can pinpoint to rationalize for most of them. We're just gonna go in order. I actually prepped this time, so I have a list that I'll be going off of, where I made previously. But yeah, let's just kick it off. Akkad. Akkad's always been a pretty strong civ. I think I put them in A tier last time. Really good overall. They got changed, so their spear is better than it was before. Now it has 3 move, and it can do some funny stuff. But a 3 move spear, I mean, that's Goths' early aggression, right? They use it with swords and spears and stuff. So, and Impy, like a lot of the strength of the Impy promo is the extra move. So 3 move on a spear is really powerful. So it helps a lot with early kills. Also helps a lot with moving around to get tributes and whatnot. So I think Akkad's like a very, very good A civ. Axom. Now this is going to be a new civ to rank in terms of where we're putting them. Axom got changed so that now they have, whenever they found a religion, it spreads to all of their expands. Now this doesn't seem that crazy, but at least on paper. But if you think about how much extra tempo this is for a piety play, or even better, a liberty play, where maybe you don't want to spend the faith to spread, but getting the spread is the most. So for instance, like if you check my channel, I have a really, really strong Axom game on wide piety, but you can equally do this with a liberty finisher prophet to instantly get spreads. So you can take something like church property, which would instantly give you 14 or 15 gold per turn or whatever it is, depending on how many cities you have. And then or you could take, if you're short on happiness, ceremonial spreads right away. So all these things are really, really good on Axom. Axom feels amazing to play. I don't think they're insane, but they're very consistently strong civ. Like when I see them in a draft, I'd be very inclined to pick them because they feel so good to play. Arabia, I'm not going to talk much about this because I talked a lot about them last time, but they still suck. Argentina, probably one of the most underrated civs in the game. They are definitely an S tier civ. I think they are incredibly good, incredibly versatile. Understanding what makes Argentina, a cut above. It's hard for me to explain in such a short video, or in such a short time, but obviously the main thing that makes them good is their worker movement and the bonuses you get for building pastures and farms. These are some of the most important and most commonly built improvements in the game. So it's not about that it requires less workers. It's about when the improvements come online, it's so much faster than any other civ can get. And with pyramids, it can be a 1-turn farm improve, which is obviously like overkill, but yeah. So really, really good. Armenia, I think with map changes recently, Armenia's gotten a bit better. I think I had them in C last time. I'm going to put them in B here. Not a crazy civ, but I think there's more mountains on the map now, and there's been a bigger push towards later game scaling, in which case Armenia is just really, really strong. Also, my overall opinion on observatories has kind of changed, where if you're building observatories, oftentimes I'd rather build observatories than schools. So I like observatories a lot. Assyria, if anyone knows me, they know I really like Assyria. So this is an A civ. I have a whole video on Assyria. If you're interested in that, go check it out. Australia. So I'm actually not making a separate tier for coastals anymore. I don't know if I did that last time, but I was kind of debating it. One of the main changes between this mod version And the last mod version was how coastals interact with the map. And the main way is the nerf of islands. Islands in general have gotten pretty much gutted, and mainland coastal has gotten better and easier to settle, which means you're more inclined to be settling inland than normal, because it's not like before where you could just put a settler in the water where there's an island that you've been radaring, and just sending it off. That's not a thing anymore, because islands oftentimes just suck. So now with you're more inclined to go inland. Liberty Coast is a thing, but it's only a thing if you're willing to settle inland spots, which means Australia is just naturally better than it was before. Mostly just because other coastals have gotten worse. But the coastal land on the Pangaea part has gotten better. So any civ that I feel like can hybrid between coastal and non-coastal is just in a good spot. Okay. Austria, similar to Assyria. I hold Austria in really high regard. I think I'm going to put them a little lower than last time, but they're still really good civ. I really like them. Just other civs have gone better. Ayyubids. Ayyubids is, and this is ordered, by the way, so this is not random, but this is actually ordered. Ayyubids is very, very strong civ. Good on liberty. Good on honor. Not as good as Akkad's honor, but good on honor. And that's it. Like, they have a good unit. Overall, strong civ. I think this is like a classic strong civ, but nothing crazy, if that makes sense. Aztec. Aztec is certainly an A+ civ. Really good food. With tradition being in a much better spot recently, and not being as punished for settling coastals anymore, because the exclusively island coastals that are coming to tax your cities are not as common anymore. It's easier to kill coastal players fully now, which means tradition is more inclined to, or is not as scared to settle on the coast. That's just a big buff to Aztec, indirectly. Also, I just think Aztec's really good. A number of reasons, but yeah. Babylon. Babylon is really good. I've talked a lot about them, have a video about them. If you're interested, go watch it. Belgium. Belgium's a really good civ. Just generally strong bonuses, right? You can't go wrong picking Belgium ever. They're a great wide civ. They're a great tall civ. Their high roll is more of, is it going to be a low roll game? Because the most common luxury type is a plantation. So getting something that's not a plantation is just unlucky rather than lucky. So it's a low roll type civ rather than a high roll civ. And that's like kind of how I look at it. Boars. Opinion of Boars really hasn't changed. I don't think it's a good civ, but it's fine. They have a cool unit. I like them. I like the unit a lot. Bolivia. Bolivia is a civ that I feel like I personally haven't put in enough reps to fully understand how good it is. I think the people that do Liberty and then bulb an artist as Bolivia are playing the civ wrong. Like, I did that once and it just... Test. Okay. I swear to God, I don't do this intentionally. It just, my mic died. It doesn't even die that fast. I don't know why why this happens so much. Okay. Yeah, I feel like people who take liberty, finish artists, bulb it, if you had chem, would you work the mines? No, you'd still be working food. So I don't understand that. Like, I think the civ's really good on tradition. I also really think they're good on, or tall in general, but I think they're also really good when you are playing tourism. The extra move on a musician is game changing, genuinely. So yeah, big fan of that. Brazil, definitely one of the worst civs in the game. Not as bad as Brazil, but I mean, not as bad as Arabia, but pretty much very, very close. It's just like the biggest come and kill me civ. Yeah. Brunei, I think this is one of the biggest falls. Brunei, I held in extremely high regard for a long time because their improvement is crazy and they could settle any coastal and be good. And it's just worse now, right? Islands are so much worse. There's less hills, which means you're less inclined to work your sea resource tiles, or working your sea resource tiles to grow your cities doesn't really help you because there's less hills on the islands to grow into, right? So it's just a weird balance now. Brunei's still good. Don't get me wrong. Like I'd pick them for sure over some other civs, but nothing crazy. Bulgaria is a civ that just got changed. Instead of 3 science per writer slot, now it's 5. And this couples really well with an aesthetics change where instead of just getting the unique aesthetic buildings in your first 4 buildings, it's all of your buildings. So late game, you could work, instead of a mine or something, you could work a writer slot, generate a good amount of like some culture, and then also 5 science, which is actually pretty significant. Also, the granary got buffed, so it's 32 hammers instead of whatever it was before, which is a very big change, right? Building your granary a turn or 2 faster is huge from a snowball perspective. So this civ actually might be underrated still. I'm not really sure, but yeah. Burma, I think I brought them down here. I just think the civ's boring, and then the last time I've played them was in the second tournament finals where I lost because my land was ass. I mean, I lost for a bunch of reasons, but mostly because my land sucked. Byzantium, probably overrated here, but I love them, so I'm going to leave them there. Canada, too much of a high roll civ for me. It's just not very consistent, and if you hit, it's not camps, it's actually the lake, so just keep that in mind. Carthage, again, something that suffered a lot from the map changes. Carthage used to be about a really good liberty civ and just a good civ overall because you're guaranteed to settle like some islands and then some mainland cities. You get a lot of gold per turn, but with coastals wanting to settle inland, Carthage is a civ that doesn't benefit at all from settling inland. So pretty unfortunate for Carthage, but it is what it is. Celts, I don't like Celts. I never liked Celts. That's it. It's not a big fan of Celts. I think they're really overrated, but I understand why some people like them, but I think their UA is just not good enough. China, another civ. This civ hasn't really changed in my mind at all. Crossbow timing is still strong, but that's it. Colombia, this is one of the most common civs that I get requested to make a video on. I think Colombia is easily a top 3 civ right now in the game. So consistent. So many different facets that make them just like, why is this here? Like, I constantly forget that they have the ability to gain golden age points on city capture. Like, why do they have that? Like, with everything else, it just seems excessive. Their granary is pretty strong. It's mostly the UA paired with spirit trees. It's just crazy. Love that civ. Super fun. Cuba, another civ I have to probably make a ramble on so people understand how to play them. The opera sucks. It's so bad. Like, you need to build a musician's guild, which you never want to be building for the most part. So it's just awful. But the main reason the civ's so highly ranked is because of the unique unit, which is so strong. It comes super cheap. It's super early. You use it with RDs instead of calves because they have 3 move. Crazy unit. So fun. Holds tiles infinitely. Just amazing. Denmark, a civ that has kind of just stood the test of time to me. Chile is just crazy good. I didn't really talk about them, but they're like probably the best tournament civ, but I'm making this for overall play. Because it's the biggest like cockroach and then win the game type playstyle ever, because their unit is unstoppable. Denmark is just a unit that just stood the test of time. It's just super fun, super good civ. If you play them well, you're gonna always have a good game. Really, really versatile in what they want to do. Doesn't really play like a normal coastal, which was why a lot of people like them. Egypt. similar thing to Denmark, just really strong civ. I think England also got hurt by this coastal change. Or sorry, not the coastal change, the island change, right? You're less inclined now to settle far away, at least via water. So the main reason for your UA now is for taxing other coastal players. And if coastals are more inclined to settle inland, it's not like you're not always going to be full killing them. So it's just a weird time to be a coastal. Most of the time, coastals are like playing now to impact the map rather than impact the other coastal. So England inadvertently got nerfed from that. Ethiopia, very similar to what I was saying for every like Egypt and stuff, just hasn't really changed, just consistently strong. Finland. Finland is, I feel like this fell in my head. Good civ for sure. Super high roll dependent. I think the problem is the sissies are just really bad. They're not very good units. And yeah, I don't know. Just like it fell for me. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. France is good civ. Just really, really strong. I think they probably they're played wrong by so many people. But if they're played correctly, you can have some of the most incredible games ever with France. Their unique improvement is amazing. It's nothing short of amazing. Franksee, this is like in a similar position as Burma to me. They're probably a tier 2 low, but they're just so boring to play that I'm going to put them there. Gaul again fell kind of in my book. With the change moving their wall to mining, it's a lot better than being on masonry, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like as much of a scary threat as it used to be. Still feels a little clunky to build like a game around. You can still have great Gaul games. I've had great Gaul games recently, but nothing spectacular. Georgia, the civ got changed a bunch of times. It went from being like a top 10 civ to falling to be where it can, it can be a flexible option. You can play all sorts of different ways with Georgia. I think one of the most fun things about Georgia in my head is that you can always be the last to found a religion and you'll never get punished for it, right? No one's taking these buildings because they usually suck, but Georgia I like civs that are flexible in the sense that they take what other people don't like. For instance, like Colombia. No one likes lumber mills for the most part, and then they make them good. Germany, I love this civ. I think it's it's a top 1 civ if Embargo City States isn't passed, right? So it's in B because if on the off chance it's not, you win the game. But it's always going to get passed. And even still, I think it's fine, right? Like, I think the 33% engineers is really good. Allows you to plant engineers you normally wouldn't be able to and still spawn other ones in time. The baby urbanization is genuinely pretty good, but it's nothing game breaking enough. I think ultimately Germany needs to get changed. It's pretty toxic for the game. Kind of forces certain policies to get hurt when Germany's in the game, right? Like, it's advantageous for the Patro player to pass Embargo City States if Germany's in the game, which doesn't really make sense. So, yeah. Golden, I'm going to talk a little about the Civ. The Civ is so good. This is the most underrated Civ in the game right now, in my opinion, based on other stuff I've seen and whatever else. Golden is good, and I have a bunch of Golden games on my YouTube channel, so go check them out. Every single game I've ever played with Golden Horde has been crazy. The consistent parts about Golden. Okay, the consistent part is tributes. Guaranteed to get tributes as Golden every single time. You don't even need a spear upgrade. Obviously, if you get a spear upgrade, it's going to be a crazy game. You can start tributing workers and shit. But if you don't get a spear upgrade, you build an extra worker, you can start tributing everything. So that's the first thing. What is Golden good for? Golden is good for games where you maybe lack culture but got a kill. The problem with flipping empires is that you don't have enough culture often to go into honor 4. That means you don't have enough for garrison policy and courthouse happy, and you don't have enough. Usually, you don't have enough for courthouse, the courthouse bonus, which means going honor secondary isn't going to really pay off until probably around turn 100 for you. That's too late most of the time, and even turn 100 might be too long. So Golden Horde can subvert this and just say, you know what? I don't need to have these broken courthouses in my cities. I can take something like patronage second, or I can take something like, commerce second, not have to worry about honor, dip 2 policies, kill someone, be in an incredible sim spot, and not have to worry about the struggles of flipping my cities. Because when you leave them annexed, or you leave them puppeted as golden, they finish their build queues super fucking quick, like disgustingly fast, and the city flips itself for you, and it doesn't cost you happiness. Most of the time when you take cities as Golden Horde, it's it costs you maybe 1 or 2 happiness to hold on to, rather than a normal like 8, right? It's incredible. It feels amazing. Now, obviously, you're going to annex them eventually, but by that point, they've probably already built all the important infrastructure, and you're only building them so they can start they can start unit production, or they can switch to, working specialists and spawning scientists. This is probably one of the best civs in the game to play tradition, because you're guaranteed like a lot of tributes. So you can play tradition into crossbows, because the hardest thing in the world is not the hardest thing, but one of the hardest things is simming after killing someone with crossbows. Or really good Liberty Civ if you're going to chariot someone, similar situation. Or archering CS as honor, or like etc. Like flipping cities on empires where you just killed them with arties or killed them with landships, right? These cities will flip themselves so quickly. It's the cities that, chariots might not be the best for golden, but honestly, flipping as golden is so easy that it's probably going to be fine. If you're able to get the kill and then just chill for a bit, golden will make your life 10 times easier. Also lets you take other more greedy or potentially greedy policy choices like commerce or like piety or something after a kill, and it won't feel bad. In fact, it'll feel better. So I think golden needs to be played more by people for them to really understand how strong the civ is. But yeah, Goths, everyone knows I have a stigma against Goths. I don't think it's like as good as most people say it is. I think it's obviously really fucking good, but I don't think it's like a top 2 civ, which a lot of people think it is. Okay, we are in Greece. Greece is fine. They're like, okay. I think if you were to ask me to list every single civ off of memory, I'd probably forget Greece exists. Hittites, they're probably a C civ, but I won the finals with them, so they're gonna be in B. I really like them. I think they're not appreciated enough, but that's a lot of civs. I think they're good. Nothing crazy, nothing game breaking, but a lot of their bonuses are good. Hungary, I like the civ. UU is really good, and I don't think this is like the wall thing is kind of shit to me. Like I kind of forget that part exists. The palace stuff I love. I love playing Hungary tall, and I love the palace stuff. And if you're wide, double Kotel itself is really good. Anyone that tells you Burma is broken because it gives you that much happiness, if you get Kotel, that's half of Burma's UA. So just think about it like that. Huns is very, very, very similar to Goths in my opinion. I think they're like very similar, like strength level. But yeah, Inca, top 3 civ for sure. Super good now. They are so consistent. So one of the changes in the last patch was the map. The map got changed. I told you about the coastal stuff, but what I didn't tell you is that there's more hills overall. More hills equals better games for Inca. So not that difficult of an equation to understand. India, my opinion of them hasn't really changed, but I do think they're fine. I don't think they're... they're not unplayably bad, like maybe like the back half of D tier. I'd never pick them in a tournament game. I don't think they're good. I don't think they're really like as good as anything in C. Indo. This is one of my hot takes. I have a couple in here, but one of my hot takes is I think this is the worst civ in the game right now. Like 100%. UA is useless. And then their swordsman's fucking trash. And then all they have is a garden. And the garden's not even that good. That's all I'm going to say. Like, try to find me one reason to play Indonesia. You won't. Ireland. This is probably like the most generic civ in the whole game. If you think about it, like Ireland has nothing really like that cool going for them. Yeah. Iroquois. Cuba made me appreciate the civ a lot more. I used to think the civ was shit, but Cuba really kind of showed me how incredible it can be. So I've grown to appreciate it more. Israel, only seen a couple people able to sim well on Israel, myself included. Such a clunky civ. Even if the temples were the same, like for whatever reason, the temples cost more hammers. Just doesn't make any fucking sense. If they costed base temple hammers, I still don't think they'd be that good. So maybe we'll push for more Israel changes. The pasture UA is so out of date. I don't know. Think of the civ needs like a facelift. Italy, great civ, super strong. I think their balance is. They used to be completely broken, like best civ in the game. Amhost actually in the finals played them when they were the best civ in the game, in my opinion. But now I think they're good. They're not, but it doesn't feel unfair. If that makes sense. Also, Italy has bad land bias, so proceed with caution. Kind of have a bunch of coastal civs like all right next to each other. I didn't really know. Chile and Japan are very similar strength for me. Japan's bonus comes a little earlier. The samurai is pretty useless most of the time. The barracks obviously fucking broken, and then the UA is nice. UA got worse with the changes, which is probably why Japan took a little dip for me. But I think they're similar strength levels in general. Jerusalem, love this civ. They're so good. I talked about them a good bit in the last video, so I'm not going to really mention them, but they're just incredibly strong. Khmer, very, very good civ. Huge fan of Khmer. Their elephants are insane. They have so much flexibility in what they can do with all the growth. I love playing them honor and going commerce, but you could play liberty and play like a garden religion or something like that and have a great time. Such a great civ. Very flexible. Always a threat. I think this is the Italy and Khmer are very, very. They're strong, but they feel. I don't want to say Khmer feels fair, but maybe I don't know. I don't know. Kilwa, my opinion of Kilwa is definitely improved. I think they're very consistent, and as a coastal civ, that's important. But again, they hurt a lot from the map changes, so. Gonna take a little bit of a dip for me on that one. Congo is such a weird civ for me. I think I placed them higher than I did last time, but I had a couple games with them, and I really couldn't get over how much happiness hit you take by the end of the game. It doesn't feel as bad as you'd think until you get to like industrial, and you're like, why do I feel so happy restricted or something like that? Obviously, the high roll for them is getting a bunch of patro neighbor, like getting a bunch of city states and having a crossbow game and scaling like that. But even on those games, you're really stripped for happy, even with all the CS. And obviously, maintaining the CS is hard. Obviously, their building is insane, but 2 happiness is a lot to forego per city, even for that much yield. I don't know. They're kind of like a reverse India in that way. Korea. I think they're good. I think they can play City of God pretty well if City of God was a thing, but it's not anymore really. I think it's still a thing, but I think the turtle ship is still really strong, especially in this type of format. And I think the Hwacha is a really strong defensive unit. So I actually kind of like Korea. I'm like kind of talking myself into increasing Korea's ranking, but I don't think they're that good. They obviously scale incredibly well, but when the whole Civ is based around specialist science, and having one extra science in your palace, and then a bunch of UUs that'll probably be useful once every like 2 games, or once every like 5 games or something like that, like not very common. It's not very useful. So you're mostly just playing like specialist science Civ. I don't know. Obviously it's good, but nothing crazy. Okay. Lith is so bad. And especially in games where there's no piety player, Lith is actually terrible. But their pikeman is good. So they're above Brazil. That is all. Macedonia. Everyone knows I love this Civ. I think I discounted Mace. I think my last top 3 was Spain, Mace, Zulu. That's definitely going to change. Mace is still the best of those 3. My opinions have changed on Zulu, but we'll get into that later. Madagascar. Piety Civs right now are just in a pretty bad spot. So, like we just nerfed Unity and Cog for seemingly no reason. So, Madagascar's weak. Manchuria, this is the biggest fall by far. I think I said that about another Civ, but it's actually Manchuria. Manchuria is the biggest fall. It got changed. No longer gets stable bonus. And that is probably the most detrimental change for the Civ. Essentially now, because without the stable bonus, this is a blank Civ until Cav. So it's just a blank Civ most of the time. So I compare Manchu to Yugoslavia now, because they're both like industrial power spike Civs. And frankly, I'd take Yugo over Manchu. So we'll get into that later, but yeah. Like super early aggression is kind of toned down, which is good for the game. But yeah. Maori, very, very good Civ. This is another Civ I feel like that's similar to Egypt and Italy, where it feels fair to play against, and just one of those Civs where really good. Nothing super gimmicky. Really good defensive Civ, because it's the only Civ in the game where you can move a unit and then fortify it in a defensive position, because it comes with over the amount of... Okay, the way fortification works is you need at least the max amount of movement on a unit that you can. And then you'll be able to fortify. Since Maori gets additional movement the first time it's spawned in, it can actually move on a road, set up on a fort, and then fortify the turn it's made, which is super valuable, especially on a defensive stuff. So just a little Easter egg. Generally a very strong Civ. Anything that gives passive faith in an already good, like the unique improvement would be good anyway, but the fact that it also gives faith is just such a good icing. It's such good icing on the cake. Love it. I will say one thing about Manchu is that the banks are better now, because commerce got changed so that there's a production modifier towards markets and banks now. And because of that, banks aren't as obnoxious to build, but they're still kind of obnoxious. So yeah. Maria, a Civ that I don't know. I don't really know what to say about Maria. They're just good. All right, this is another one of my hot takes. I think Maya is the best Civ in the game. The problem is no one really knows how to play them. Like, there's only maybe like 5 people that play Lek that I'd be scared of playing Maya. 5. Because there's such a high skill cap thing, and it's obviously like you can have a good game on Maya regardless what you do. But to play them like incredibly well is so fucking hard. Most people don't have it figured out. I don't have it figured out. I still have great Maya games, which is why they're an S. But I have to like look. I'm looking at this from a different angle, where if I had to objectively rank what would be the best Civ in the game on the best player, it's probably Maya. So that's the rationale there. But yeah, Mexico changes recently are weird. I don't mind them. I think Mexico's still pretty good. I love the windmill so much. I love the unique interaction it has with gardens and building settlers. The problem with Mexico is it's such a high roll civ. Or again, it's actually similar to Belgium in the sense that it's a low roll civ. If you low roll and you don't get granary tiles or you don't get a farm tile to work with your worker or you get on pottery, like why are you playing the civ? You know what I mean? Anyway. Mongolia. Mongolia. Where did I put that? Oh, okay. A minus. Yeah, that sounds about right. Mongolia, very similar to Ayubits, just kind of worse. I mean, it's Babylon, but worse in a way. It's similar to Akkad in the sense that you get yields from taking cities. Mongolia obviously gets yields from unlocking chivalry and wants to go there anyway for Keshiks. Problem with Mongolia is it's very obvious attack. Everyone taking Mongolia wants to do it, so everyone who's next to Mongolia wants to block it. Similar to why Arabia is bad, but Mongolia is just a good sim civ. The ability to always archer city states is really, really powerful. So Mongolia is an A minus at least, honestly. I think this one might be a little underrated. Moors. I talked a lot about them last time, so I'm not going to say much, but they're still very good. Morocco. The only thing Morocco has going for it is it's unkillable if it has desert post Cav. Like, it's unkillable. Like, Cavs will beat land ships as Morocco, and it's disgusting. So you got to kill them before that, or just ignore them. Because they're really not that scary. Mysore, good civ. I like them a lot. I'm known to play a mix of everything, so I think Mysore is just a good civ. I love the arty. Arty's like probably my favorite timing, and I think the UA is fun. Nabatea. Another civ that I feel like just needs a little kick. It needs like a little more. It needs something else almost. And if it got that, I think it'd be a lot better. All right, so this is one of my other hot takes. Netherlands is the best coastal civ. Best civ to play Liberty on. Best civ to go wide. That's coastal. Able to defend itself well with sea beggars. And settles inland super easily. It's a great time. Very consistent, which is probably the most important thing on coast. Gives marsh tiles a use. Gives floodplain tiles. Makes them even better. Such a good civ. Makes your early game very consistent with the gold and the happy. It's great. New Zealand. Another fall from grace kind of situation, but the changes to nerf how much culture you get was the biggest hit. It's very high rolly, and additionally, the map now has more coal, so defender attacks ironclad attacks aren't as infrequent, or they're hypothetically less infrequent, which means the defender value is much, much less. The nice thing about old New Zealand was that it was a guaranteed Netherlands. All right, what am I saying? Guaranteed ironclad attack always could work because it didn't require coal. Now, since coal is more, it's not as scarce, I think it took a hit. Additionally, the early game snowball isn't as powerful as it once was. I still love the civ, but I have to recognize that it did get weaker and that it's not as good. Normandy, I think this is probably one of the most overrated civs I've seen from other tier lists. Like, I don't understand how people put this thing. This is not a good civ. Like, the Mont Bailey kind of sucks. The 10% attack bonus is only in enemy territory. So, I mean, the Mont Bailey is like fine. It's just annoying. The only reason it's even playable is because you can build it on anything. Norway, I don't know. It's coastal. It's really boring civ now. It's so much more healthy for the game, but I don't know. I feel like, again, it feels like a civ that's kind of missing something. Nubia, this is probably one of the most changed opinions I've had. I used to think the civ was like kind of mediocre, and now I think it's just crazy good, and it can be insane. Oman. I think Oman is, again, with the coastal changes, I think it's a lot worse in general. But I have to respect the fact that it's probably better than a lot of other coastals just because of the scaling you get from having airports is insane. So I have to respect that. But most of the time, the Civ is doing absolutely nothing for you. And with less islands means less farming for barbarians, which means your UU is not as good. I don't know. It's a Civ that if it gets late and it's even, you are fucked. But oftentimes that's not the case, and oftentimes they're just behind and they're easy to punish and stuff like that. Ottomans, I've talked a lot about them. Don't really want to talk much about them. Still really strong. Palmyra, always loved this Civ. Always loved this Civ. Always thought they were really good. Easily the most consistent Civ in the whole game. And this is literally just better boars. Palmyra and boars do not deserve to exist in the same game. Palmyra is just better than boars. They kind of do the same thing. Defensive UU, culture building upgrade, freshwater farms. It's actually the same Civ. I just realized this. It's the same fucking Civ. But Palmyra is just better in every single way. Wow. Okay. I didn't really realize that. Persia. Again, I don't really want to talk about them much because it's obvious they're broken. Everyone knows they're broken. I don't need to talk about it. Philippines, second best coastal for sure. Very flexible. Good to go inland. High tempo Civ. I've always loved Philippines. Such a good big threat with commerce. Such a big threat with everything. I just love Philippines. Philippines is so good. Phoenicia changes makes me sad because I used to really like the old Phoenicia with the coral ports and the additional trade routes and stuff like that. It was always really cool to scale with them. Now they just feel so gross and they're not fun to play as, and I hate playing them. They're really not that fun. Poland, to me, I think the unit's overrated. The Civ ultimately comes down to just being a really good stable, and obviously it's really good. I'm putting it with a bunch of other really strong Civs, but I don't know. I was looking at this list, and I don't think I could realistically put them over any of these other Civs or any other Civs that I'm going to be putting over there. Poly. I hate Poly. Don't want to talk about them, but they're okay. They got worse because of islands, but they were always really clunky to play because of the lack of radaring. I don't know. Portugal. I've talked a lot about how Portugal probably is the most cancer Civ in the game. Because they got nerfed via the map, I don't think they're as good as they were before. They're pretty restrictive in what they want to do. They really fundamentally break the game. But are they better than Netherlands and Philippines? I don't think so. I'd pick Netherlands or Philippines over Portugal, but yeah, I don't know. Portugal still is incredible. Top 3 coastal for sure, in my opinion. Prussia. I think this is just more or less a vanilla Civ, so I don't like the trade route stuff is so useless. I mean, the only thing the Civ has that's really crazy is the cheaper factories is meaningful. Don't get me wrong, that's meaningful. But if you want a cheaper factory, play Chile. Their unit is good, right? The rifle is actually very scary. It is a terrifying unit. But is it as scary as... Like, if your whole thing is a unit, that unit better be good. But is it as good as a Cossack? I don't think so. Not to mention Russia does everything else. So it's not that good of a Civ. It's consistent, but consistently very, very mediocre. Or very, very, like, unimpressive. Romania. It's fine. I don't have much to say about Romania, honestly. Rome's a good Civ. I like Rome. Rome's good. Russia, very strong Civ. Very, very strong Civ. I think people generally overrate Russia. I see a lot of them in like the top 3, but oftentimes you get games where you only have one horse node. And if that's the case, then Civ's not nearly as good as it was. Double strats is crazy though. It's just such a good Civ. And I mean, obviously the Krepos is useless. So I don't know. It's actually good on honor. I will say, like, the Krepos is actually meaningful on honor. So something to keep in mind. Scotland. No, I think this is like an interesting opinion, but Scotland forces guilds in cap. And I hate building guilds in cap, which is why I put them so low. But I do recognize they're strong. And I do recognize the Galglass attack isn't completely as shit as I thought it was, but I still think it's kind of shit. Shoshone. Very, very good. Very scary Civ. Super consistent. Can play really anything well. I love them. They're fun. We made a video on Shoshone. If you're interested, go watch it. Siam. Oh god, this is so bad. I don't even remember the last time I played them. They're so bad. Oh, they're so bad. Oh my god, they're so bad. Okay, Sioux. Made a video on them. They're broken. They're still broken. That's all I need to say. Songhai. Look, I think River. I've come to terms that river movement in the late game is the most important thing you could ever ask for. Now, what is the Civ before river movement? What if you got no rivers? It's a different story. But very, very good Civ for the consistency in terms of how you can war in the late game and the mid game. But I think Inca is generally better and on average does more than Songhai does. So they're very similar. I kind of see Songhai and Inca as like one and the same. No one really thinks Songhai. Ooh, the temple, right? Like no one thinks that. Spain, yep, they're still stupid. Big surprise. I mean, they're not as stupid because they're coastal now, but it's still a toxic Civ for the game. And I will stand by that forever. And I will always be saying that they should get removed. They never will. It makes me sad. Samaria, I feel like this is a good... This would be such a good Civ if it didn't come at drama. Like, if it came at, like... Even if it came at philosophy, it'd be so much better. But drama is such a bad tech, man. Like, honestly, this Civ would be... This Civ would be easily A if it came at philosophy. But because it comes to drama, like, I'm talking about the culture per city. If it came at philosophy, it'd be an A. Because it doesn't, it comes at C. But probably a Civ I'm underrating. I like them a lot. I've played them a bunch of times. I just don't think they're as good as the other Civs above them. Sweden, I need to make a video on this, but there is some like a meme strat to play with them where you can like gift your profits as wide piety away to city states and hold them forever. It's actually very good and very consistent. But Sweden as a Civ itself, it's so mid. Like this is what I would consider like a very mediocre type Civ. Switzerland got a buff and then it got nerfed. The market slot thing is like cool, but to remove it from getting the extra gold seems so silly. This should be a gold Civ. Like I think working merchant slots should give you the extra merchant yield. I don't know why that was changed, but I think the Civ's good. The timing is very easy to see coming now because more people are accustomed to it, but it doesn't change the fact that it's scary to be next to and generates a lot of gold and has good games. Tibet, I hate Tibet. I will acknowledge that they're not as shit as, like, is Tibet better than Madagascar? Probably, but I refuse to put them not in D tier because I hate them. I hate the fucking dude. It's honestly the unique improvement that pisses me off the most because I like all those yield. I like culture as a yield, but I hate working it as a tile. Like, dude, fuck off. Ugh. And then the profit thing is so shit. It's just like, cool, I get one extra artist maybe by the very end of the game. Like, cool, like who gives a single fuck? Tonga, another fall from grace civ. Very sad. I like Tonga a lot, but they were an island civ, and islands suck now. Smooch. Turkey. I think this is where I put them last time. They're just such a nothing burger of a civ. UAE. I actually love this change. The change was hotels are now on replaceable, I believe. Either replaceable or radio. It doesn't matter. It's kind of the one and the same. But that's such a good change, man. That makes aesthetics on the civ so much better. And the Raider is such a scary unit to fight against. And if you're playing like aesthetics, you're going to have a lot of wonders. So the wonder thing is actually kind of relevant. I think the civ is obviously bad. Like, it's obviously bad, but I love the change. I think it's such a good direction for the civ. I think it's a good like readjustment. But if your main thing is tourism, then your civ sucks. Ukraine, very similar to how I view Sweden. It's just kind of like a meh civ. Like, it doesn't do anything. America, so good. So good. America's just so good. So consistent. If you have a bad game as America, you're doing something wrong. Because that civ only has good games. Actually, it only has good games. The only civ that's more consistent than America is Palmyra, but the bonuses on America. Maybe I should put them here. No, I don't know. I don't want to change it. But the bonuses on America can really push it ahead. And if Palmyra has good land, it really doesn't get to use much. So America makes. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Vatican, trash. I don't like the change. I liked the change in the sense that it wasn't. Vatican didn't move for me. Let me put it like that. It was always shit. Then it changed to something kind of cool and kind of unique, but it's still shit. The way it works is if you kill a city and you spread your religion to it, it instantly gets a courthouse, which is great. But in what case is that ever fucking happening? Like help me understand when that is happening. Like, maybe it'll help you flip cities, but cool. Like, I get a courthouse, like, whatever. That's the whole identity of the civ. I mean, the only thing the civ has going for it, literally the only thing, is the votes. And if that's the only thing going for your civ sucks. Like, I don't know. Venice, meh. Just such a meh civ. Like, this makes me feel nothing. Vietnam, I don't like this civ because I low roll so much with it. But obviously it's pretty good. But if you high roll with the civ, you have no hammers. So it's like a weird thing. I don't know. I think they're fine. They also break the game. They don't break the game anymore with. I don't know. Civ doesn't feel that good to me. I'm sure someone's gonna prove me wrong and have a great game of Vietnam, but I don't like them. I never get Marsh, so it's mostly just because I'm salty. I never get Marsh. If I had Marsh, Civ would be great. It would be better. I don't think it'd be great. Wales, very similar to exactly how I view like Egypt, Italy, Khmer. Like, these civs, I think, are such well balanced civs for like a good power level. Yugo. I'm gonna put this above Greece. This is what I was saying before. Like, Manchuria and Yugo are kind of similar in the same boat to me now. I just think Yugo's better at industrial. Kind of weird to say, but Zimbabwe, love this civ. I have 85 schools as Zimbabwe. A bunch of honor games that I've played where I win. It's just such a good civ. It's fundamentally very strong, and the double warrior start is so good. It gets tributes for you. It gets they transition into workers kind of with farms and stuff. It's such a good. It feels so good to play. Then Zulu, best way to wrap it up. Everyone knows how I feel about Zulu. This is not much of a surprise to anyone. But what will be a surprise is that I did not put them in the highest spot this time, or in like the upper tier. I put them in S, but they're in the bottom of S tier. I think the changes to planes, where planes are not able to get additional experience from discipline or Iron Fist, is so good for Zulu, because Zulu already starts with air repair most of the time, or a lot of the time, or very close air repair. So Zulu's inadvertently buffed by that. But for whatever reason, I feel like early attacks at this timing are much more punishing, mostly because you get teamed so much more frequently now. In terms of tournament play, like Zulu's such a weird civ where the only thing you're really playing for is scaling to planes, because obviously it's very defensive with the barracks and with the impies and stuff like that. But it's hard to justify picking Zulu if, like, for whatever reason. I just feel like mid-game war has gotten a lot harder to transition into wins. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but at least for me, it's easier for me to like transition an RD game or a landship game into a win than it would be like an Expos game or something like that. Anyway, that's my tier list. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you don't agree with. I'll be answering questions in the comments below, so feel free to leave them there. If you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. I don't post much, but you'll see when I do. I don't know. If you want to play if you're a new player and you're looking to play games, feel free to join the Discord. I'll link it below. But other than that, I will see y'all next time.